Okay, when is your exam actually?
It's in April.
April, okay. And your mother asked me to take economics as well,
Yes, yes.
online. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so which shall we do today? Shall we continue with economics?
Yes, we can continue with economics.
Okay. So you have the PDF. I have your PDF, but I don't know where I kept it. You send the economics PDF.
Present?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll record the remaining question and answers for your lessons.
Okay, sir.
I thought you said March 14th. Please, March 15th, I thought you said.
Yeah, it's practical exams.
Oh, practicals. Okay.
Yes.
I thought you had English tomorrow. So I was wondering, I asked your mother, I told your mother it's on March 15th. Would she pay the full fees and everything?
Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't matter now. I think we finished, okay, the third chapter, goods and services, right?
Right. We have completed basic economic activities as well.
Yeah, basic economic activities.
Chapter 6.
Okay. Shall we do, which one do you have next?
Next is production.
Okay, we'll go to production. Uh, okay. Okay, I'll read and will explain, okay?
Okay.
So, chapter 7, production, okay?
Okay.
Now, when you read, you will actually have an idea of what you're reading about, and more
Yes, sir.
information will be added. So, you know what production means. Means in a factory, they'll produce so many goods, so many
Right.
different types of goods. So, basically,
Right.
you have an idea of what you're reading about, then more information will be added.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll read it now. In order to satisfy our wants, we have to produce various types of goods and services. Okay,
Right. Okay.
the production of goods takes place in agricultural fields. So, what goods are produced in agricultural fields? Crops, grains, wheat, rice, like that.
Yes.
Factories, some cars, different types of machines, firms,
Okay.
industries, and production of services takes place in shops. So what sort of service are we given in shops? We go to the shop, we want to buy something, and the shopkeeper serves us with that, and we exchange
Yes.
money, right?
Right.
Takes place in shops, offices. So even in offices like any uh, legal office, we go there with some problem and he offers us services, right?
Right.
Then hospitals, like if we are ill or if we have some, some fever like that, we go to the doctor shop or hospital and the doctor gives us some medicine.
Right.
Schools and colleges, of course, we go there to learn and we are taught. So service is given in schools and colleges, right?
Right.
Hotels, what sort of service? Like we go there too when we're hungry or when we want to change in the menu, like that, right?
Okay. Right.
Then banks, we deposit money, it earns interest, or we can invest in using a bank app nowadays, right? We can invest, we can double or We can multiply the amount we have because it earns interest. So banks offer us services,
Okay.
and at many other places. So practically the whole of society, wherever we go, some sort of service is offered, right? I think
Right.
you're going in the, you know, you go on the MG Road, you see so many different types of shops. They offer services, and schools, colleges, hotels, many other places they offer services. Okay.
Okay.
In an economy, there may be lakhs of production units, hundreds of thousands of production units, which produce goods and services. Okay.
Okay.
Production is the result of the combined efforts of the four factors of production. The four factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So if you want to produce, say, something like a car, then you need land for the factory. Then you need labor. Labor means the factory workers. Okay?
Okay.
Then you need capital. Capital either to buy the land, lease the land, rent the land, and pay the salary for the workers, as well as invest in machinery and other such infrastructure required for producing cars. Capital means money, investment,
Okay.
and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship means managing this whole set of factors. So the entrepreneur is the one who arranges for the capital, who sees to it that the land is acquired, then he sees to it that the workers are hired, and he
Right.
manages the whole thing. And when the car is produced, he sells the car and makes a profit, pays the salary, pays the rent or the lease or whatever, however he acquires the land, right?
Right.
So the entrepreneur is the one who is like, he's managing the whole set of factors. Okay.
Right.
These are also called inputs or resources. So what are called inputs or resources into production? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. They're called inputs. You input these and output is the car or whatever is produced in the factory or the industry.
Okay.
The relationship between inputs and outputs holds the key to optimum use of resources. So, a relationship between inputs and outputs. Inputs mainly one of the main things is the capital. Okay?
Okay.
Capital is required to acquire land, labor, pay the workers, hire the workers, pay their salary. Okay? And that's the input, these three. And output is whatever profits he makes. So, relationship between input and output. So, however much money he borrows to set up the factory, he has to repay over a certain period of time in installments, along with interest. Did you follow?
Yes.
You know how banks lend. You see, if you want capital, you go to a bank, say, I want this much money, and depending on your capacity to repay, they will lend you the money, but you'll have to pay interest on it. Interest component will be heavy.
Right.
Okay. So relationship
Okay.
between inputs and outputs holds the key to optimum use of resources. So the optimum use, the land should be utilized efficiently, the workers should work to efficiently, the capital should be utilized efficiently, right? So that is
Right.
the optimum, the best use of resources, producing maximum level of output possible. So maximum level of output, okay?
Okay.
Increasing the number of cars produced, and increasing the level of output, etc. And it must also increase over time.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the introduction. Okay,
Okay.
so objectives. We'll come back to the objectives after reading the chapter. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, concept of production function. Okay.
Okay.
Production is defined as transformation of inputs into output. So whatever inputs, land, resources, capital, and entrepreneurship, those inputs must be translated into output in a certain number of cars, for example. Is a
Yes.
transformation of inputs into output. That is production.
Right.
The resources used in production are called inputs. So again, see, it's being repeated. The resources used in production are called inputs. So land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Okay, the resources used in production are called inputs, and the goods and services produced are called output. Okay.
Okay.
So, for example, so it gives the example now, right?
Right.
For example, for the production of an output called rice. No, not cars, is taken the example of rice. Okay.
Okay.
We require inputs such as agricultural land, right?
Right.
Seed, fertilizers, plow, water, pesticides, diesel to run tractor, pump set, etc. Right?
Right.
So we require all these inputs to produce rice. All these inputs have to be combined in some prescribed amounts to produce some quantity of rice. So certain prescribed amounts. See, if you have 5 acres of agricultural land
Okay.
and you have, let's say, 50 kg of rice seeds and 30 kgs of, you must mix this in such a way that you have the optimum output of rice.
Okay.
And you must use the plow, the water source like the pump set. You must use pesticides, diesel to run tractor, pump set. You must use all these to produce a prescribed amount of rice.
Okay.
So you can calculate actually, if I use this much land and sow it with this kg or this kg of seeds and utilize these fertilizers at this time, plow the fields, irrigate the fields with water, and when the rice grows, use this much amount of pesticides, and the cost of diesel is so much, cost of tractor is so. You can actually calculate, do it all on paper, and then carry out the plan on the field in the agricultural land. So
Okay.
at the end of that, you should get that amount of rice. Okay?
Okay.
So production function tells us the technical relationship between inputs and output of a firm. So this is called the production function. So what is the production function? It tells of the technical relationship. Technical relationship, it may be something like an equation, right?
Right.
We don't know what that equation is, but if there is an equation or some other relationship between inputs and outputs, that is called the production function.
Okay.
Okay, it tells us the maximum quantity of output that can be produced with the help of a given quantity of inputs. So your inputs are fixed. Your agricultural land is fixed. Your seeds are fixed. Your fertilizers, plow, everything is fixed. Okay?
Okay.
Those fixed quantities of inputs, you must get the maximum quantity of output, that is rice.
Right.
So it can be done on paper actually. Okay?
Okay.
In short, the quantity of output is a function of inputs. So quantity of output, how many kg of rice you get, is a function of inputs like land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and required raw materials, right?
Right.
So, so again, is repeating, right? The
Right.
lesson has been written in such a way that the same information is repeated in different contexts, so that it
Okay.
sticks in the mind. Okay.
Okay.
So you remember it, right?
Yes, yes, I'll remember.
Uh, so function of inputs like land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and required raw materials will give a certain quantity of output. Okay. Okay. There is a direct relationship between the amount of inputs and the amount of output produced, isn't it? So there'll be a direct relation. However much in, depending on the amount of input, you get the output. Lesser the input, lesser the output. Higher the input, higher the output. For example, if the agricultural land is small, amount of rice produced is low, small, right? Okay? Hello?
Yes, sir. Okay.
And then if the agricultural land is of, higher dimension, then so depending on there is a direct relationship between the amount of inputs and the amount of output produced. Okay?
Okay.
An increase in inputs leads to an increase in output to a certain extent. So, see, an increase in inputs leads to an increase in output to a certain extent. So it's like it's like a rising line. Then it curves. Then it flattens. Right?
Right.
You get the idea. So there's a rising in the amount of input. If you increase it, the amount of output will increase. Then it will turn right and flatten. So to a certain extent, increase in input produces increase in output to a certain extent. After that, it will not go higher, right?
Right.
We'll see that. So he illustrates this later on, okay, in this chapter. Okay?
Okay.
The aim of every producer is to maximize the quantity of output from the given amount of inputs. So what is the aim of every producer, every entrepreneur, right?
Yes. Right.
Is to maximize the quantity of output from the given amount of input. So efficient use of all the inputs to maximize the quantity of output, right?
Right.
The inputs must be combined in a particular manner for production of a particular type of output. See, if you have 5 acres of agricultural land, about 100 kg of seeds and 150 kg of food, you see, it's not working out. So for 5
Okay.
acres, you don't need 100 kg of seeds. For 5 acres, you need something like 20 kg of seeds.
Hmm.
So what does it say here? The inputs must be combined in a particular manner. For 5 acres of agricultural land, you need so much kg of seeds, so much fertilizer, so many plows, so much water, exact amounts. So they must be combined in a particular manner for production of a particular type of output. So to get however much kg of rice you want, that is a particular type of output. The inputs must be combined in a particular manner. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, now he's giving another example. Take the example of a tailoring shop. Okay?
Okay.
Requires a master who can cut the cloth. Okay? As per
Okay.
measurement. Okay, so the master tailor takes the measurement of the customer. And one
Okay.
person for one stitching machine. So he has a stitching machine, one person for one stitching machine to stitch the cloth cut by the master tailor to make the shirt or pant. Okay?
Okay.
if the work is more, if the workload is more, if more customers come in and more shirts and pants have to be produced, then
Right.
another machine and a person to work with can be added, right?
Right.
If work is if workload is more, then another machine and another person can be added. Technology or method of production refers to the ratio in which inputs are combined to produce output, right?
Right.
What is this? The method of production of certain number of pants and shirts, technology, that is a stitching machines, it refers to the ratio. Ratio means uh, x over y, x over y, like a fraction.
Okay. Right.
So inputs are combined in a certain ratio to produce output. So that is actually in the form of an equation. What the exact form of the equation is, we'll see, right?
Right.
Maybe I'll explain. So the production function is also defined as a technological relationship that tells us the maximum output producible from various combination of inputs. So again, we'll go back to this example of the agricultural land and the rice. So what is it? The production function is defined as a technological relationship. It's most probably an equation or something like that, right?
Right.
That tells us the maximum output producible. So amount of rice producible from various combination of inputs like agricultural land, seeds, fertilizers, plow, water, pesticides, diesel, etc. Okay.
Okay.
Now different technologies of production. So different technologies. Again, what do we understand? Some machines, right?
Right.
Goods and services can be produced in more than one way. So to produce a car, there are so many different methods of producing a car.
Hmm.
So not all factories use the same components. Not all factories produce the same type of car. So goods
Right.
and services can be produced in more than one way, right?
Right.
For example, production of cloth. Now gives the example of production of cloth can be made either with the help of handloom or with the help of power loom. What is handloom? Handloom is weaving the cloth by hand. So you have what is called a loom. Okay, loom is nothing but a weaving machine. The cloth, it seems to be plain, but actually it's like a net of threads, right? Net.
Okay. Right.
So it's a very close fitting net of threads. This close fitting net of threads is produced in a loom, right?
Right.
Now when the loom is operated by hand, it's called hand loom. And when the
Okay.
loom is operated by machine, it's called power loom, right?
Right.
So handloom saris, you must have heard of handloom saris, right? So
Right.
they are more expensive than power loom saris. That's one common example we can find. Handloom saris and power loom saris, right?
Okay. Right.
The first one is labor intensive technology of production. Labor means you have to operate the loom by hand, right? Labor intensive.
Okay.
Labor intensive technology of production. And the second one is capital intensive technology of production. Capital
Okay.
intensive means you have to give money to buy the power loom. And then the power loom produces the cloth once you feed the thread into it.
Okay.
So the second one is called capital intensive technology of production. Okay.
Okay.
So when a farmer makes use of wooden plow, bullocks, etc., in the production of food grains, he uses the labor intensive technology of production. Okay.
Okay.
On the other hand, when he uses tractor, pump set, harvester in the production of food grains, he uses capital intensive technology of production. Okay.
Okay.
So to buy those tractors, harvesters, pump sets, he needs capital, that is money, right?
Right.
In this way, the technology of production can be of the following two types. Okay.
Okay.
So two types are labor intensive technology, capital intensive technology.
Okay.
Okay. So labor intensive. So just now so he'll repeat. See, it's repeated many times, so that it's repeated many times so that we can remember. Okay. So
Okay.
labor intensive technology, when we make use of labor and less use of capital, less use of money per unit of output. So to produce one sari in a handloom, it costs less than to produce one sari in a power loom. So what does it say? Less use of capital. Handloom uses less capital.
Okay.
Uh, I'll read that again. When we make use of labor, okay, keep in mind the handloom. When we make use of more use of labor and less use of capital per unit of output, that is per sari in the production of our commodity. Commodity is the sari. That is called labor intensive technology. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This type of technology is used in household enterprises. So most of these handloom units are set up in small houses. Okay.
Okay.
This type of technology is used in household enterprises and in the enterprises which make production for self-consumption. So which make production for self-consumption. So whatever they produce, they consume it themselves. It can be something like oil, groundnut oil, coconut oil. That is also done in some what with labor intensive technology. They use the bullock,
Oh,
the bullock
okay.
goes round and round. There's a wheel. They put the groundnuts into a groove on which the wheel goes round and round and the oil is extracted. So this oil is useful. They consume it themselves. And some
Yeah.
for market. Okay?
Okay.
Self-consumption in the case of small-scale production. Small-scale production means not thousands of kg of groundnut oil, not thousands of saris. Small scale, about 20 saris, 30 saris to be sold,
Okay.
some saris to be used for themselves.
Right.
Okay. Capital intensive technology. So now we come to capital intensive. When we make more use of capital, capital means money, and less use of labor. So to operate a power loom, it doesn't require much manual labor. You just
Okay.
switch it on and it works. Okay?
Okay.
A power loom works if you switch it on. So when we make more use of capital and less use of labor per unit output, per unit means per sari. Per unit means one sari, right?
Right.
So per unit output in the production of our commodity, that is called capital intensive technology of production, right? So capital
Right.
intensive technology uses more capital and less labor per unit of commodity.
Okay.
This type of technology is used when the production is made on a large scale. So they can produce 500 saris, right?
Right.
For sale in the market in order to earn profit, right?
Right.
In corporations, so there are handloom corporations, right?
Okay.
In corporations and government enterprises, generally there is a use of capital intensive technology of production because there is large scale production of goods and services, right?
Right.
Okay, so there is large scale production of goods and services in government enterprises and they use capital intensive technology. Okay. So another aspect of organizing the production activity is called division of labor. Now what is this division of labor? See, division of labor increases the efficiency of workers due to which large scale production becomes possible. Division of labor means splitting up of the production activity into many processes and assigning every process among different workers according to their aptitude and ability. So let's suppose you have 10 workers in a factory, right?
Right.
And they're producing, let's say, we'll take the example of a car again, right? So
Right.
these workers, some are assigned to, put the wheel on the chassis. Other workers are used to assemble the engine. Other workers are used to, you know, uh, put in the windshield, right? Other
Right.
workers assemble the electronics of the car, right?
Right.
So what is this? Division of labor, right?
Right.
So you have labor means the factory workers. So I'll read it again. Division of labors means splitting up of the production activity. Production, you're going to produce a car. That activity is split up into many different processes. So one should, you know, get the engine into the chassis. Another should bolt the tires. So the car is split into parts and each part assembly is assigned to workers, right? Each part of
Okay.
the assembly is assigned to workers, assigning every process among different workers according to their aptitude and ability. So some workers may have skill in, putting the tire onto the car. Some other workers may know a lot about assembling the engine, right?
Mm.
So
Right.
depending on their aptitude and ability, the process is assigned to different workers and finally the car is produced because the production activity of producing the car is split up between different workers. That is called division of labor. Okay?
Okay.
Division of labor is of the following two types. Again, there are two types of division of labor. Okay?
Okay.
So product-based division of labor. So
Mm.
what is this? If a worker specializes in the production of a single good or service, it is called product-based division of labor. Right? If he specializes in one part of the production activity, it is called product-based division of labor. We'll look at the examples, right?
Right.
In case of small farmers, a potter, a cobbler, a carpenter in a village, we see that there is a use of product-based division of labor. So the example given is that of a potter. What does a
Mm.
potter do? He produces pots.
Mm.
So he's specialized in the production of pots. What does a cobbler do? He sews the chappals, the shoes, and the chappals and all that footwear.
Mm.
So there is what he specializes in one thing. So in the village, a cobbler, a potter, a farmer, or a carpenter, there is product-based division of labor. So what is product-based division of labor? I'll read it again. If a worker specializes in the production of a single goods or service, it's called product-based division of labor. Okay.
Okay.
So it is very common in household enterprises. Household enterprises means it's a small scale unit, right?
Mm.
And
Right.
the factory is in a house actually, okay,
Mm.
like handlooms, right? Uh,
Right.
or as I said, like cobbler, carpenter, potter, like that. It is very
Okay.
common in household enterprises of developing countries like India, right?
Right.
So have you heard of Chanpatna?
Yes, I've heard of.
It's called Toy Town, right?
Yes.
Because they make a lot of toys there. And probably
Right.
the toys are made in these household enterprises, small
Mm.
scale units, right? So in India,
Right.
it's very common, product-based division of labor, right?
Yes. Right.
When the production is made for self-consumption, they consume some of what they produce themselves, or on a small scale. So some percentage of the output is used in the market, is sold in the market. So it's called small scale
Okay.
production, right?
Right.
There is use of product-based division of labor. Okay.
Mm.
For example, most of the farmers in a country make production of food grains mainly for self-consumption, right? So farmers, they produce the rice, wheat, all that mainly for self-consumption. All of them make product-based division of labor, make use of product-based division of labor. So whatever agricultural land they have, all that, fertilizer, seeds, okay, pesticides, all that they use mainly for their own consumption. They produce the rice for their own consumption. So that is
Okay.
product-based division of labor. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Next, process-based division of labor. Now here there is a process. Okay. So like what is a process? With respect to production, car is produced at one end, it's output, but it goes along what is called an assembly line, right?
Right.
The first step of the assembly line, the chassis, that is, the bare bones of the vehicle is brought down. Then
Okay.
each part, like tire, engine block, windshield, electronics, paint, everything is assembled as the car travels down the assembly line. It's called an assembly line, right?
Right.
So that is a process. It's a process, first this one, then this one, then the third part, then the fourth part. It's a process. So process-based division of labor. So that's what it
Okay.
says. In big production units, like corporations, like car factories and government enterprises, where the production is made on a very large scale, there is a use of
Mm.
process-based division of labor. So it's a process. First, this has to go into the product, then this part, then this part. It's a process, right?
Okay.
In case of process-based division of labor, the production of commodity is divided into many processes, right? So the final car is divided, right?
Right.
Each part is assembled in one step of the process. Is divided into many processes, and the worker specializes in one or two processes, right? So,
Right.
for example, one worker may specialize in putting on the tires onto the car, and he may also specialize in putting the tire into the dicky. You know what the dicky is, where they have the spare tire.
Okay.
So another worker may specialize in fitting all the electronic equipment. Like dashboard, display, ignition. Another worker may specialize in electronics of the car.
Okay.
So this is called process-based division of labor. In case of process-based division of labor, the production of commodity is divided into many processes, and the worker specializes in one or two processes, right?
Right.
That is called process-based division of labor. For example, now it gives the example of biscuits or bread. For example, Britannia Bread Company manufactures bread, right?
Okay.
Raw material for bread is wheat flour, right?
Right.
Conversion of wheat flour into bread requires 3 or 4 processes. So there's 3 or 4 steps before the bread is produced from the flour. The flour has to be converted into dough. So dough means you have to mix water with the flour, just as you make chapati, right?
Okay. Right.
The flour has to be converted into dough, and dough has to be kept in containers, like the bread-shaped containers, right?
Right.
Containers are kept in ovens for baking. So they're baked at a high temperature, and the bread rises and forms the bread. The dough rises and it forms the bread, right?
Right.
Kept in ovens for baking, the baked bread is cut into appropriate size and packed. So, like just as in a bakery, they cut the bread into slices. So in a factory, that takes place on a large scale.
Okay.
So it's cut into appropriate size and packed. All processes required in manufacturing of bread are undertaken by different workers. So one worker sees to it that a certain amount of wheat flour is put into the mixing machine, a certain amount of water is added, certain amount of salt, and whatever other ingredients have to be added to the dough to make the dough, right?
Right.
He controls the input of water, wheat flour, salt with the help of a machine. If he presses a button, certain amount of water goes into the dough making machine. If you press another button, a certain amount of wheat flour is added, right?
Okay.
Then a
Right.
certain amount of salt, and then it switches it on. It mixes and mixes and mixes. Finally, the dough is produced, right?
Yes.
So all processes required in manufacturing of bread are undertaken by different workers, and nobody can claim that he has manufactured the bread. So not just one worker cannot claim he's manufactured the bread. It is a product of the efforts of several different workers, right?
Okay. Right.
He can say that he has performed 1 or 2 processes in the preparation of the bread. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. In government sector also, the supply of any single good or service depends on the process-based division of labor. So you must have heard of Maruti Udyog, right? Maruti Car.
Yes.
So
Right.
that's a government organization, right?
Right.
So producing Maruti cars depends on process-based division of labor in the government sector. Okay?
Okay.
For example, take the case of a simple street lighting. Now gives example of street lighting to be provided in a newly constructed group housing complex. So there's a big, like what you call layout, right?
Okay. Right.
And they have to produce street lighting, right?
Right.
Now, how is that done? It undergoes several processes. First, the installation of electric poles in the streets. So the concrete poles have to be put up in the street. The second process is connecting all the poles with electric wires, right?
Right.
You must have seen these electric wires on poles. Nowadays, I think they're laid underground, but this is how it's set up in a group housing complex, a layout. They put the poles, then they connect the poles with the electric wires. The third is fitting electric bulbs and tubes, and the final stage is the release of electric supply from substation.
Right.
So what is a substation? See, the current you have coming in to your house in anywhere in Bangalore, right? Into any house in Bangalore, right? Is
Yes.
some of it is produced in Raichur. Raichur is in North Karnataka, right?
Right.
So in Raichur, they produce current voltage of 120,000 volts in the generator. That is
Okay.
stepped up to 400,000 volts. And that is transmitted from Raichur all the way to Bangalore via
Okay.
overhead lines, the towers, right?
Right.
When it comes to Bangalore, it is stepped down from 400,000 volts. It is stepped down to a lower amount of volts. And then in the street corner, you see the transformer, right?
Right.
So that step down takes place in the substation. So from the substation, it goes to the street corner transformer. Transformer transforms it to 120 or whatever volt you have in your house, right?
Right.
So from 400,000 volts, it's stepped down to the voltage needed to run the tube light, the fan, the fridge and all that, AC and all that, okay? Anyway, that's a substation, right?
Right.
Okay, anyway, all these processes are undertaken by different workers. So each part, erection of poles, connecting with wires, installing bulbs, and then feeding the electricity from the substation is undertaken by different workers,
Okay.
right?
Right.
For removing, why they're talking so loudly? For removing any defect in the functioning of the system, these are another team of workers for maintenance department who put the system in order. So another team of workers puts all the things in order and they maintain the system. That's called the maintenance department, right?
Right.
So this is about division of labor. Division of labor increases the efficiency of workers and leads to the possibility of invention discoveries because of repetitive nature of work.
Okay.
So see, if you repeat the same type of work, then you'll find a better way to do it. Same work
Okay.
will be done more efficiently. That is one of the byproducts of doing repetitive work, right?
Right.
So it encourages the use of machines in place of manual labor. So they may invent some machines to do the work, right? Instead of doing it manually by hand, they invent machines. It also leads to the use of capital-intensive technique of production. So it leads to you need machines, you need capital, you need money for the machines, right?
Right.
Okay. So Ayan will continue tomorrow.
Yeah, we can continue tomorrow.
Remember, we are on page 58, okay?
Okay.
So production index question 7.2. I'll answer and send you a recording.
Okay.
Then tomorrow we'll take up these equations. I told you they're equations, right?
Right. Right.
So these are the equations.
Okay.
Okay. So any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll call you
Thank
tomorrow.
you. Okay, sir. Thank you. Bye. Good night.